Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy wants to see Russian leader Vladimir Putin stand trial at the International Criminal Court. Mr. Zelenskyy is also calling for a special tribunal to hold Moscow to account for invading Ukraine. He spoke during an unannounced visit to The Hague.
Of course, we all want to see different Vladimir here in The Hague. The one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win. And we will win.
The European Commission, among others, is supporting Mr. Zelensky's call. It wants an international centre for the prosecution of the crime of aggression in Ukraine to be set up in The Hague. Now, this would be separate from the ICC, which has no such jurisdiction. It has, however, already issued an arrest warrant for Mr. Putin for the unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children. For more, Alex Kadia joins us live now. He is in Brussels. Alex, the ICC issued that arrest warrant for Mr. Putin for alleged war crimes in Ukraine. That was in March, but it can't prosecute the crime of war aggression itself. What are the chances of a fully fledged tribunal actually being set up to prosecute that overarching crime? That's what Mr. Zelenskyy has been pushing for since last year.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's going to be quite a long road to get there, quite a few steps to get there. As you said, the first step, of course, would be victory for Ukraine. That's something that President Zelenskyy mentioned in his speech, but it will have to go through some kind of international body. As you rightly say, the ICC cannot prosecute the crime of aggression and has issued that arrest warrant against President Vladimir Putin of Russia for the alleged forced deportation of children from Ukraine to Russia. But that would not be prosecuting the overarching crime of aggression defined by the United Nations as the invasion of one sovereign territory by another country, which is what the Ukrainians are very clearly saying has happened in this conflict. So the chances of that happening, that special tribunal, that separate tribunal, well, there's a lot of political will for it. Clearly, the European Commission really backing Ukraine, the United States backing Ukraine, most, if not all, of its Western allies that have been supporting the country for so long, also supporting it. But more interestingly, an ex-Soviet state like Moldova, which will have a bit more of a sphere of influence conflict, has also been supportive of that special tribunal. Now, the question is, how does that come about? Now, the European Commission is pushing for a UN-coordinated effort being set up by a UN General Assembly vote, setting up that special tribunal similar to the Nuremberg trials and tribunals that we saw after the Second World War. So quite a lot of logistics, quite a lot of politics to get through. Obviously, the war itself has to end first, but there's a lot of evidence being gathered by the Ukrainians, and so certainly a lot of political will, but the practicalities will take a lot longer.
Meantime, Alex, Mr. Zelenskyy is expected to have meetings at the ICC. Do we know what he hopes to achieve during this unannounced visit to the Netherlands?
Well, there'll certainly be encouragement from him to continue prosecuting individual war crimes, which the ICC absolutely can do, looking at those specific investigations, specific events that have happened throughout the war. That will be one of the messages by President Zelenskyy, but also looking for the ICC to offer its support to this idea of a special tribunal. As we said, that jurisdiction is not with the ICC, so trying to use their expertise, use their knowledge to build up towards that situation. So very much hoping to garner support, but it's not just a visit to the ICC. Of course, it's also a visit to the Netherlands, one of the bigger supporters of Ukraine in the European Union. Prime Minister Mark Rutte has been a very staunch supporter of President Zelenskyy and of Ukraine, having visited Kyiv twice in the last few months since the start of the conflict. So it's both a visit to really set up that conversation about a special tribunal linked to the International Criminal Court going through the UN, but also bolstering support from its main ally in Europe, in the Netherlands. So very much a joint visit for President Zelenskyy, but certainly hoping to get support from the ICC for that special tribunal in the next few months, maybe in the next few years.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that. Alex Kadia there in Brussels.